How is that going? Look, smile. Look, we'll get you too.
Oh, God. I don't like being.
Well, no, it's not gonna be you on that. It's just I'm getting the audio is what I wanted. I just want
to take a good picture. Want my picture taken?
I don't want my picture taken.
I don't. I can't make a good picture. I'm not like you, listen, Debbie.
Anyway, that's enough. Okay, so
what?
I need a. My butt hurts. Okay. So, what is it? August 31st, 2013 at 8:32 p.m. Anyway, so it's the Arnold Jr. thing. So, first of all, when did he die?
He died September the 2nd. It was, let's see, 1970. Wait a minute, let me see,
77.
77, yeah.
Because he died on his birthday. But when was his birthday?
He shot himself. Yeah, he died on his birthday. His birthday was like September the 2nd. He shot himself on my birthday. He got shot on my birthday, August the 31st, 1977.
But when was he born? September 2nd.
He wasn't born in 1954.
54 it was. So how old was he when he died?
23.
I didn't realize he was that young. So anyway, okay, so what was the whole thing that started this whole hitman kind of crap?
Well, from what I know...
Like, what was he mad about?
He was mad about, well, first of all, you know, he was on drugs and he couldn't think straight.
Well, when did Arnold Sr. die?
Arnold Sr. died,
what year?
1974.
Okay, so he was 19 years old when his father died. I'm 20.
Arnold Sr. died in 74. He died on Robert's birthday, I believe.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, so Arnold Sr. died, and...
Yeah, and then when Arnold Sr. died, well, you know, they put the house up for sale because June had to go into the nursing home. And, you know, that house on Braeswood.
On Braeswood.
Yeah, 5203 South Braeswood, I believe. And Arnold Sr. thought he had to, Arnold Jr. wanted to keep that house for himself.
Arnold Jr. wanted to keep the house.
Oh, yeah. He got up there and...
But he was living on Judson, right?
I know, but after they told him he had to get out of that house because the bank was going to sell it. See, the bank had charge of June's, you know, money estate. And they went ahead and they told Arnold Jr. he had to move because they had to sell that house so that money could go to June.
Yeah.
You know, pay for her nursing home and all that stuff. And then he was pissed off, and then he went ahead and he bought that house on Judson Street. And anyway, then he got on drugs, and then he just had in his head that Robert had charge of her finances, but he didn't.
But who had charge of
the bank?
But who, like, what? But was there a person in charge of that?
Well, first of all,
who was that King? The last name was Don King.
Oh, that was Raymond King. He was that attorney.
That's different.
So. And then Arnold Jr.'s girlfriend was Karen King.
Well, yeah.
But they weren't any kids.
Okay, so but that wasn't related to the bank.
No. The bank, it was like at the time it was Jim Jones and Gilbert Bell. But then I remember Jim Jones went to Amarillo. He moved back up there.
What was the name of the bank?
First City National Bank.
Okay, so, but Jim Jones and Gilbert Bell were in charge of the estate?
Yeah, back then. Well, they were in charge of June's, you know. making sure her bill at the nursing home was paid and all that.
Yeah.
And then Arnold Jr. All Robert had was charge of her personal stuff. You know, seeing to it that she had soap and deodorant and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then Arnold Jr., when was it? Palm Sunday in 1977.
Hold on a second. So, Palm Sunday, 1977.
Yeah, Arnold Jr. called Robert and told Robert something. If you don't turn Mother's estate over to me, I'm going to have a hitman and sign a contract to have you shot. And Robert called me at the nursing home and he was laughing. He said, hey, my brother gave me a nice Palm Sunday present. I said, what? He said, he told me if I didn't turn over mother's estate or everything over to him, he was going to hire a hitman to have me shot. Robert said, he sure gave me a nice Palm Sunday present.
Now, but when did y'all find out that was for real, that he really did?
Well, it was the next day, I think, Robert called the police. See, Robert told him, he said, I ain't turning a damn thing over to you, Arnold Jr., because he knew if he'd get his hands on it, things that he was on drugs, he would just, he got his hands on money, he'd spend it on drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And they told him, Robert said, I'm not turning nothing over to you. And so the next day, Robert called the police, and he called Jim Jones.
Uh-huh.
And Jim Jones told him to come on down there to the nursing home. Come on down to his office. He had something he wanted him to hear. So Robert goes down there to hear it.
And this was the day after Palm Sunday?
Yeah, and Robert goes down to hear it, and he hears all this shit where Arnold Jr. hired this hitman to shoot Robert.
Where did Jim Jones get the tape from?
I guess he got it from the district attorney. I really don't know. I guess he got it from the district attorney. I don't know.
When were the tapes dated? Like, when did the conversation?
I don't know anything about it.
But Jim Jones got it from the DA, in Bel Air?
No, it was out in West University.
West University.
Or the police gave it to him. I don't know. Somebody gave it to him. And Robert went down there and heard him. And then he came back and he was about ready to cry. He said, well, guess what? My brother hired a hitman to have me shot. And the hitman turned out to be an undercover agent for the district attorney. And
I want to know how Arnold Jr., how he solicited a hitman and then accidentally got a police officer,
Well, that's the way they do. It was Arnold
like
Jr. had this friend, John Daughtery. John Daughtery was a drug addict too, and he was an informant to the police.
Mm.
And he's the one that went and told the police at West University that Arnold wanted to have his brother shot.
Mm-hmm.
And see what happened. Arnold Jr. went ahead and he bought that 44 Magnum, the one that David got. And he told that hitman, he kept in touch with the hitman thinking he was going to shoot Robert. And Arnold Jr. told the hitman, just forget about it. You're being too slow about this job. I'm going to do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
So John Daughtery called over to the house that one morning. I don't remember. It was during the week. I don't remember what day. But anyway, he said, he was telling me, I just want to keep something bad from happening. Well, I had already known about all that crap. And so anyway, he said, I want to talk to Robert, Mr. Zemanek, Arnold's brother. I said, well, he's not here right now. And by then I was mad as hell.
Why?
Well, 'cause I'm not tired of him bothering us like that and calling us on the phone and getting Robert mad. And then
Who, John Doe?
No,
Arnold Jr.
And then getting Robert mad, and then cussing, and Robert would jump on me, and I got sick of that. And then I had the relatives calling, Elvie, and not Elvie Naval, and all them, gustily would be hollering, oh, y'all shouldn't have thrown Arnold Jr. out of that house, and Robert said he had to get out. because we had to have that place for Mother and things that none of them liked June. They thought, the money should go to me and Robert and all that. Well, I said I couldn't take care of her, and they didn't like it. And, that Monell didn't get any money, and Monell was carrying on with them relatives. Oh, just having a fit because she didn't get no money, and all this, and kept saying Robert got $94,000. Robert didn't get no more $94,000 than I did. He got very little from his daddy's estate.
Well, so now so Palm Sunday is the death threat, okay, and then Monday the tapes, yes, okay, and then but when did y'all get the call, the next one where the John Doherty called you? He called about a week later. And he was the informant guy.
He's the informant.
Yeah. Okay.
He reported Arnold.
So he called you.
Yeah, he called me to tell me I'm going to stop something bad from happening. And
then what did he tell you?
And I said, yeah, I know what's going on. And he said, yeah, I can tell from the way your voice is trembling, you're nervous or whatever. I said, no. I said, to tell you the truth, I'm damn mad about this shit. I want to be left alone, and so does my husband. We want to be left alone.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'm mad. And anyway, then he called that night, John Daugherty did. He called that night. And he didn't know, I guess he didn't know that Robert had already talked to, the district, to deal with them, heard those tapes. And so anyway, he called and told Robert that Arnold bought that 44 Magnum. He said he was with him when he bought it. And he was with Arnold when Arnold poured sugar in Robert's gas tank, that Chevrolet that Robert had. And that's when Robert bought some gas cap locks.
Yeah, the locks.
Yeah. And anyway, then, what was it, Robert went ahead after he talked to John Daugherty, then he called the police and told the police. He said, look, my brother bought a gun. He said, I appreciate it if y'all would go do something. He said, before some blood is going to be shed. He said, he's going to kill me or I'm going to kill him. He said, one of the two.
Because why hadn't the police done anything yet?
Because they were so stupid. Robert told them, when Robert heard, he told the West University police after he heard these tapes, he said, y'all knew all along Arnold Jr. was trying to shoot me and y'all didn't want to warn me? And that cop told Robert, well, we were waiting to find you dead, then we'd know who to go after. That's just what he told Robert. Robert said, y'all are about as cold as a block of ice.
I mean, so that's what they said. They didn't.
Yeah, they told Robert, we were waiting to find you dead, then we'd know who to go after.
Well,
that's what they said. And Robert told that police, he said, y'all are just as cold as a block of ice. He said, I can't believe y'all are so damn cold-hearted. And that police said, well, that's the way the law works. And Robert said,
but if they had somebody on the phone who was hiring a hitman or had a tape, then that's grounds for arrest. Well, anyway, okay. So just kind of moving on. Okay, so this Jim Doherty, John Daugherty calls you, and then later and tells y'all about the gun and the sugar and everything. So then what? Then what happened?
Well, then what happened? Well, they went out there and arrested Arnold.
But why? Okay, why did they wait that long to arrest him?
I have no idea.
Because if they had tapes that he had. If they had, when did he hire the hitman? When?
I don't have any idea.
You know what I mean?
I don't know when he hired the hitman, but he met the hitman in the old motel somewhere.
Because why did they wait? Why did they wait so long before arresting him? That's what I
guess they were waiting, like that police said, we were waiting to find you dead. That's what he told Robert. We were waiting to find you dead.
But, hold on, then why didn't they wait to find him dead? I don't get, why didn't they change their mind,
Don't ask me. That's the cops for you.
So, Okay.
I don't know why they waited so long to arrest him, but that's what
Because it makes you wonder when Arnold Jr. placed those, when he solicited for the hit.
Well, I think this was in April. He started that about in March or February.
It would have been a while. Okay, so anyway, then, now, when did he get arrested?
He got arrested that night. Oh, Lord.
So it's Palm Sunday, a week later is Easter, then...
He got arrested, I think, in June. I think they came and got him. That went on for a while. It was about...
Because I'm going to pull up those letters real quick.
I think about in June they got him.
And no, that can't be right. Because... Hold on a second.
He got arrested in May.
If I could even... Here we go. Okay, so... No, because Arnold Jr.'s letter to June, the first one I have is dated May 17th. The one written on May 17th is when he... Okay, on May 17th... I can even... Okay. Yeah,
That's when he got arrested, somewhere then.
Yeah, May 17th. May 17th, he's asking June for $2,500 for bail.
Yeah, and then she went ahead and didn't understand it. And she wrote him a check for $25.
Yeah, well...
But the bank would not let the check go through.
Because, okay, so now here's the thing, though. Okay, so he gets arrested. It's Palm Sunday, time passes. And he got arrested, and so then in May, he's in jail, okay? And he writes this letter to June, and then she wrote him back, and in the letter I have here, it says that I need, where he says, I received your letter, Raymond King is listed in the phone book, the telephone book. If you give him $2,500, I will get out of jail. They didn't give me your check. Please help me out of this horrible place. Keep calling Karen. Tell her to eat more food. I said so. I really love you and want to visit you as soon as I get out. If Dad was here, he would have gotten me out on the first day. First day is underlined exclamation point.
See, that's
but I know you, hold on, but I know you will, / Uncle Bill hasn't done anything yet, exclamation point. I gave my power of attorney to sell my, hold on. Wait, where did it go? To sell my, to sell my house, and this got cut off, and I think it says, and then he abandoned me and treats me this way. So, okay.
Like that.
Anyway, so that's May 17th. May 17th, he's in jail. He's trying to get June to give him money.
He got it. He was arrested in, I'd say the beginning of May.
Yeah.
They went out one night, and they I think it was on a Friday night, they went out and just arrested him.
Yeah. So now, while he was in jail, he was in Huntsville?
No, he was here.
In Houston?
Not
prison, but he was
he was in Houston here.
Yeah.
And he had to get out and work. You know how them jailbirds do. They have to get out and work.
Like where they pick trash up or something?
And that was below his dignity. He didn't want to do that.
Oh, yeah, I know. So then he got... Okay, so he was in jail. Now, and what's he talking about? He gave Bill power of attorney.
Yeah, he gave Bill power of attorney over him.
When he went to jail?
Oh, yeah, when he went to jail.
And what was his reasoning?
Well, I guess he thought Bill should take care of him since Arnold Sr. wasn't there anymore to help him.
So Bill would take the place of Arnold Sr. to bail him out. And
Bill called me that one time when he bailed him out of jail. He said, I did something, but I took the advice of my attorney. I bailed him out of jail.
Well, when was that? When was he bailed out?
Oh, let me see. He shot himself in August. I guess he bailed himself out. I don't know. I guess it must have been about the beginning of August, something like that. He got bailed out.
Okay, so but now why didn't y'all want him bailed out of jail?
Well, like Robert said, he didn't want him bailed out because he said he'd end up on the streets with drugs and running to Mexico and with Quaaludes. But he had got caught, He had June's car, and him and a couple other boys got caught trying to go into Mexico with a bunch of Quaaludes or something.
But what was the deal that no one wanted to press charges? Like, that's the thing. Okay, so he gets arrested, and what was the deal on that?
Because Robert felt like that's his brother, and he did not want to press charges. He even told that policeman, he said, look, Arnold Jr. wanted to have me shot. Me. He said, I'm his brother. He wanted to have me killed. He said, I'm not going to press charges. I just forgive him for it. Let's let it go. And the guy said, no, he committed a crime. He said, it's against the law to solicit somebody. So that's why.
Who was the police officer?
Oh, somebody in West University, some old punk.
Some old punk.
Some old punk that you take the gun away from and he'd run off and hide.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, y'all, now, he got bailed out in early August, and it was Bill who bailed him out at the advice of the attorney.
And Raymond King.
Raymond King. Now, how did Raymond King get involved? Who was he?
He was Bill's attorney.
Okay. And Raymond King told Bill to get Arnold Jr. out of jail.
Yeah, he told him to bail him out.
Why?
I don't know. I don't have any idea. That's all I know. And then I know this Karen King.
His girlfriend.
Well, that's right. His girlfriend's daddy told him, if you don't get him out of jail, I will. He would pay to get him out. And I remember the night of Arnold Jr.'s funeral. We went to Bill's house, and they were talking. And Bill said, I started to tell that old man King, if y'all would have left us alone, I'd left him in jail. He probably would still be living.
Mm-hmm.
Bill said that. But if they would have just left me alone and not told me, he said that Mr. King kept telling him, if you don't get him out of jail, I will.
That was Karen King's father.
Yeah. D.L. King or something. And anyway, they went ahead and he said, that's why I got him out, because I figured they would end up getting him out, and then he'd end up in worse shape. And he said, and I told him, I started to tell him, if you just would have left him alone and left him in jail, he might still be alive.
Yeah. So he got bailed out of jail. Okay. Then what went on from the time he got bailed out of jail to when he was killed or killed himself?
He sat at his house.
Okay,
West
well,
University.
he stayed at his house at West University, but when was he supposed to go to trial?
In September, I think.
So he was going to go to trial. And did they know how many years he was facing, potentially?
I don't know.
And nobody thought that, like the DA or anyone, no one ever thought he was a flight risk, like he would try to escape and go to Mexico.
Yeah.
You know, usually when they have someone in jail awaiting trial for something like that, you can't get bailed out. You know, you got to stay there because you might run.
No, he didn't. He didn't run. He just stayed at his house, and he begged Robert to give him money, and Robert said, no, Arnold, I'm not giving you money. He wanted Arnold to give him Robert to give him $5,000. And Robert said if I'd have given him that money, he'd have ran off to Mexico, and God knows what would have happened. Robert said, I'd have had all that on my conscience. So he said, I told him I'm not giving him anything. Just sit tight and let the attorneys handle the situation.
Just sit tight. Yeah, you had said that before, sit tight.
So that was Robert's famous word, sit tight.
So okay, so then what happened the day that he was shot? Like what were the circumstances around that?
All I know is that Sue, Bill's wife, called me at my job wanting to Robert's phone number at
What
work.
time?
Oh Lord, I guess this must have been around 1 o'clock, something like that. And she said,
That who was it again?
Sue, Bill's wife,
Bill's
called me
wife,
at my job. I was working at Blaylock. And she said, wanted Robert's phone number. And I said, well, all I know is he works at the Port of Houston. She said, well, I'll have to get it because, and I told her, I said, well, what's the matter? She said, oh, it's Arnold Jr. I said, now what happened? He shot himself. I said, oh, for goodness sake. And I told her, I said, did he die? And she said, no, but he's in very extremely critical condition. I said, oh, God. And I was praying with goodness. So anyway, she called Port of Houston, and somehow they got a hold of Robert. Robert said, here I was going home on the Gulf Freeway. He said, and tears were streaming down my eyes, and he said, I was trying to drive, and it was hard to see. It was hot. He said, I got home, and he said, then Sue told me that Arnold was at Ben Taub. And Robert said he went ahead and he cleaned himself up, and then he went on over there to Ben Taub. And he talked to one of the doctors and nurses where Arnold was, and they had told him there was no hope for Arnold because he was shot in the back of the head.
Mm-hmm.
And he had real thick hair. And he said they didn't know where the bullet hole was at first. And then it was like in the back of like the base of his skull.
Mm-hmm.
And, and anyway, I went to see him the night that he died, and Karen Kings was there, her daddy, she was hugging, hoovering over Arnold and talking to him and telling him. She put her hand in his hand, and she kept saying, tell me who did this. If Bill shot you, squeeze my hand twice so I'll know. And she said Arnold squeezed her hand twice. But the doctor told Robert, he said that could have been just a reflex.
Yeah, that's not.
And
there's little.
But she kept saying she saw Bill running from the house.
Yeah, what was that? Was she there when he was
She had
shot?
gone over there because she would take him like to his job or take him places, you know. She had gone over there, and she said she went over there that morning and she saw Bill. She was driving up to the house and she saw Bill running from the house to his truck.
Where was his truck?
I guess it was parked across the street. I don't know. It was a park in front of that house.
And so she said that, and then she went in the house and found him dead.
She went ahead and found Arnold, and everybody was wondering why was the gun in his left hand, because Arnold was right-handed.
Yeah. So what did Bill have to say? Did anybody ever question from the family, ever say anything to him?
Not that I know of.
So nobody ever asked him if he was there?
He swore up and down he wasn't.
And Karen King said he was?
Yeah, and he said he was not.
And there was no actual investigation of that?
There was no investigation of nothing. Bill was being good friends with them West University police. He was a slick ass. He was I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was, I've heard some members of the family refer to him as slimy.
He was a very slimy, weaselly person, just like I told Robert not to mess with that damn house on West University, Arnold Jr.'s. Bill wanted Robert and me to buy it and live there because he wanted to get it off his neck. So I told Robert, don't do it. And he was going to fix it up and all this stuff. He started it. And what he was doing, he was letting his helpers sleep in that house. At night, he had Mexicans working. They would sleep in the house and shower and all that and leave their tools in the house. That's all he did. And Robert went there several times, and Robert told him just forget about it. And one night they leveled the house, and Robert went over there to pay, and I think it was $1,600. That's what they charged to level that house. And Bill told Robert, just wait a minute, Robert, we're eating supper right now, and I'll be with you in a little bit. And Robert said, yeah, that's okay, just take your time. Well, they offered to Robert to eat. And Robert said, no, he had already eaten. Robert said Bill was just as nice as he could be. Then when they got through, they went into where Bill had like an office. And he said Bill got plumb damn crazy. He told Robert, now if you don't pay this right away, my God, I got to pay so and so much for my daughter's college. His youngest daughter was going to college. I don't know her name. And anyway, I want this right now. Robert said, hold on, Bill. He said, I've been wanting to pay you. He said, but you always told me you were busy. He said, that's why I came tonight. And Robert paid him. And just like he was mad because Robert had the money to pay him.
Well, so
he was a slimy son of a bitch.
How long after Arnold Jr. died did that happen?
Oh my God, that was about a couple of months. I don't know.
So it's short. I mean, I guess, okay, so just kind of getting back to Arnold Jr. now, Karen King said she saw Arnold Jr. or she saw Bill running away from the house.
Mm-hmm.
Bill said he wasn't there, and Bill was friends with the West University police, so of course they weren't going to say anything.
Yeah, they're not going to say anything. And they didn't investigate Arnold's death. They just wrote it off as a suicide.
Yeah, nobody ever thought to. Yeah, because I mean that's a lot of questions around that. And you had said one time that it's possible that Bill shot him in self-defense. If Arnold Jr. and him got in a fight or something like that.
Well, I don't know.
And they never tried to find out who the gun belonged to or anything?
And the gun belonged to Arnold. It was one of them little bitty Saturday night specials is what I called it.
Well, but it belonged to Arnold Jr. So it
belonged to him, and the West University police had it. They locked it up. They wanted to give it back to Robert, but Robert said, no, I don't want it.
Yeah.
But Robert said he wanted that 44 Magnum.
So he got that.
He got that, and then David wanted it.
Yeah.
So I gave it to David.
Yeah.
And I told David to put it away, because that's a powerful gun.
Oh, yeah. So, okay, so then... then what was that funeral like?
Hold on.
It's Bernice. Tell her you'll call again.
Well, okay.
Because I'll just be here a little bit longer.
Hello? Uh-huh. No, uh-uh. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Oh, colitis. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Oh, is she? Oh.
Call her back.
And what did she say about James, though?
This is our intermission.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the question remains, Why
Who?
was the death not
Oh.
investigated?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. So, yeah, they're going down, yeah. Mm. Yeah, we may be too. We never know. Mm. Yeah, well, I'm glad you did. So, well, yeah. Yeah, same thing, yeah. One of those things. Mm. Yeah, just gotta wait and see. Now all we can do is just pray for him. That's all we can do. So, cancer. Oh, Lord. Yeah. Uh-huh. Hmm. Yeah, what she said. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh-huh. Oh,
Mama, stop talking about old people.
Okay.
Come on.
Yeah.
Call her back. I'm busy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was talking to my son now, Bernie's. I talk. Can I talk to you tomorrow? Yeah, he's here now. So, but that's okay. No, that's all right. That's all right. I'm glad you called and let me know. So I don't mean to rush, but he's got to go home. So, okay. Well, I'll talk to you tomorrow, Bernice. Okay. Bye bye.
I'm gonna start combing it like this. Do you think that would look nice?
No, that looks awful. Now what? What else?
Anyway, okay. So what about? Okay, so Karen King said that Bill was there. Bill said he was not there.
Yeah.
Bill was friends with the police. Nothing was ever investigated.
Nothing
Okay.
Investigated.
And then
police. Who was that policeman? Sheffield. Sheffield was that one police officer. He went there to the house.
Who?
Sheffield when Arnold was shot and all that stuff.
So who all saw, or was it Karen King who called the police?
Yeah, when she found him, like that, she called an ambulance
And who all saw him? Were pictures taken?
Not that I know of.
And
not that I know of. All I know is they brushed him to Ben Hub.
And so he went, and then he went on the 31st. He died on, God, that's like, 25 years ago already?
1977.
Yeah, and so he died.
Longer than that, isn't it? Bradley, the 77.
25 years ago, good Lord.
Because
anyway,
Bradley is 36.
Yeah.
6 years ago.
Yeah.
I was pregnant with David, and David is 35.
Yeah, it was 36 years ago. So, yeah, I'm not even thinking right. Okay. See, that's why I need a calculator. But anyway, so he went to the hospital. Now, what happened at the funeral? Were people, griping with each other or what?
No, there was some of his friends there, and Robert said he saw John Daughtery hiding behind one of them big oak trees there at the cemetery.
During the
At
burial,
the cemetery, when the service was going on.
Mm-hmm. Well, but I mean, did anybody at the family say anything?
Like what?
Well, I don't know. Like, what did June have to say at the funeral?
All June did was stood there and by Arnold Jr. and cried and said, he didn't do this to himself. He didn't do this to himself. I'll never be happy again. I'll never be happy again. That's all she did. She didn't say nothing.
So that's all June. So June never believed that he shot himself.
Yeah, she didn't believe he shot himself.
She never did.
She said he didn't do that to himself.
Who does she say killed him?
She didn't really say, but Juanelle told me Bill shot him.
How did Juanelle know that?
I don't know, but she told me, she said Bill shot him. Juanelle always believed Bill did shot him. Because I remember that time when Robert died and I said something. Yeah, I said, I hated when Arnold Jr. shot himself. And, oh, he didn't do that. Bill shot him. I said, oh, did Bill shoot him? She said, yeah, Bill's the one that did the shot Arnold Jr.
I mean, and was that just with all of them? It was just what they believed. Nobody had any evidence that that's really what happened.
Nobody had any evidence. They couldn't prove it.
I mean, that's what makes me wonder, like, what was Bill's, if indeed Bill shot him, what was his motivation in doing it?
All I know is maybe Arnold Jr. might have threatened him or something. See, Robert said that, oh, Bill was the sweetest uncle. He was so nice. Then when Arnold Sr. died, he went completely nuts. He was altogether different. When Arnold Sr. died, a lot of them just went, the whole lot of them.
What are you doing?
Well, I was hot.
Anyway, when Arnold Sr. died, a lot of
them just, Bill got completely nuts. He got mean and hateful, and he was ugly to Robert, and Robert couldn't stand it.
Yeah.
Robert didn't want to have nothing to do with him. He'd call over here sometime, and Robert would tell him he had to go. And Robert got mad at me that time when he come over here to the house. I don't know, he had something. He kept saying Val was trying to keep Robert and Juanelle from getting their share of the farm, the Zamonic farm, and I'm not going to let her do that, is what he was telling me. And then he brought some papers over here, and he damned at the door, and y'all were little kids, and y'all kept hollering, Daddy, Daddy's home, Daddy's here. If y'all thought it was Robert, I said, no, that's not Daddy. And then he come and opened up the door. I just barely, and he jerked the door open. Oh, is there a bank around here? Is there a notary public around here that can pull them damn crazy? And blah, blah, blah. And then he left, Robert told me, he said, don't you dare let that bastard in the house. And I said, I didn't even get a chance to open the door right. And he done jerked it open. Wanted to know if there was a notary, if there was this around here. Told him, I said, I didn't know.
So anyway, yeah, I mean, so basically Bill kind of went nuts. Now, when did Arnold Sr. die?
He died
what year?
In 1974.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, 3 years before Arnold Jr. And so now after the funeral, though, they kept saying that Bill, some people said Bill killed him. What happened, or when did Bill get killed?
Oh, Lord, he got killed.
What year?
I really don't know. He was killed in...
It must have been, if I was already born.
Yeah, you were born. It was in the 80s. I would say maybe about 82, 83, something like that. It was in the early 80s.
And how did he get killed?
Well, he was in a car wreck. That police hit him, that West University police.
Who was driving?
Sue was driving. Bill had DWIs. He couldn't drive.
Was he drunk the night he got killed?
Honey, I don't know.
So Bill had DWIs. He couldn't drive.
Yeah, that night when we went and made arrangement at Arnold Jr.'s funeral, Sue would drive.
Well, okay, but he had these DWIs, and the police ran out in West University or Houston.
I don't know. I guess they were in Houston. I really don't know. I never went into details about that.
He ran a stop sign.
It was. I heard that Sue ran the stop sign.
Well, then how could they sue the police?
And then I heard that the police ran the stop sign.
Yeah, that's what I heard. The police.
That's what I heard. The police, because they did sue.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the outcome was.
So Bill was killed. So it basically put an end to the whole question of whether or not. I mean, because obviously no one could question Bill at that point.
Nobody could question it. Just but Arnold. I mean, one in-law always said Bill shot him.
Yeah, I wonder. I wonder what any of the other relatives would have to say on that. Because pretty much everyone I talk to says that Arnold Jr. didn't shoot himself. I mean, almost every relative I've talked to says that it was Bill who did it, but they don't really have.
Yeah, I think Bill did it too, but I don't have any proof of it.
Oh, you said you think Bill did it?
He might have had something to do with it.
And why do you think that?
Well, because, for some reason I think Arnold Jr. was mad at him, and I don't know if Arnold Jr. probably tried to jump on him because he had a temper in him. He would get mad, and I don't know if he tried to jump on him and Bill shot him in self-defense, or if Arnold just was so depressed he just shot himself.
Because you have to think, I mean, Arnold Jr. had a reason to kill himself.
Well, he was scared to death that he was going to have to go to prison.
Yeah, so he had, and if he was raised in such a way that he never had to take responsibility, then of course he was going to be scared.
Yeah, he was scared to death because, see, Arnold Sr. did everything for him, like that night when him and, who was it? Karen King and about 3 or 4 other boys, they all got hopped up on marijuana. And they went to this man's house. Where was it? Tomball? Somewhere. He had a big old swimming pool in his backyard. He woke up at, I don't know, at night. And those kids were all jumping and swimming around in his pool and smoking marijuana. Well, he called the police. And Arnold Jr. got arrested too. Well, Arnold Sr. ran right quick and bailed him out. And see, one time Arnold Sr. and Arnold Jr. got in a fight. And June called the police. And he went ahead and the Arnold Sr. wouldn't let the police come in the house. And so the police told June there's nothing they could do. They can't force their way in because they didn't have in other words, they didn't have no, what do you call that?
Search warrant.
Search warrant or nothing.
And
June used to always tell me, well, his daddy is no better, so how can I expect him to be any better? I can't expect Arnold Jr. to be any better. Look at his daddy.
Mm-hmm.
Look how he is.
Was Arnold Jr. always like that?
Well, he was always spoiled. In other words, Arnold Sr. is really the one that spoiled him. Well, June too, but more Arnold Sr. In other words, like one L used to tell me. She said, oh, my dad, I'd buy a toy for it. If we come down, Daddy would always, and Steve, her son, would have a toy, and John, well, he would always say, Arnold's toy is a lot better than yours. Always that kind of stuff. And he always would make out like, see, that Steve and Arnold Jr. were just 2 years apart.
Yeah.
And anyway, he always told him that Arnold Jr. was so much better and all that stuff. And he was really the one that spoiled him all that. Anytime Arnold Jr. got in trouble, Arnold Sr. would run right quick and get the baby out.
Yeah.
And then when Arnold Sr. died, well,
Yeah.
Arnold Jr., he was on drugs and he was hitting on the old man and, and all that kind of shit. And it was awful. Last time I'd seen Robert's daddy, he was drunk and he was peeing his pants and his face was all swollen. Oh, I told
At his house?
Yeah, on Braeswood. And he looked awful. He didn't shave. And Robert said it made him sick, made him want to cry. But
well, so what now? Now, kind of thinking about Arnold Sr. I mean, when did he start to go downhill? Because I mean, when I look at those pictures and how he's the big man,
downhill. Yeah, he was okay after we were married. He started to go downhill about the beginning. I would say the beginning of '74, right in June of '74, something like that.
And when did he die, though?
He died in July.
Wait, so like he started really declining that month before he died?
He started kind of going downhill. Arnold Jr. would be beating on him and stuff like that and hitting on him and cussing at him.
And he was drinking real heavy.
Yeah, he would start drinking. Because Robert said when he went to that house in West University, he had to clean stuff out and clean the cabinets out. And Robert said I could go away more during bottles of Jim Beam and that Jim Crow or whatever whiskey.
Jim Crow.
He said whatever. He said I could go whatever that stuff. Old Crow or whatever. Robert said he threw away a big garbage can full of whiskey.
So he was drinking. Now, I mean, I'm curious. Okay, so now remind me though, what was the thing about the pig pen?
Well, he got drunk. He went to stay at Loy and Alvin. He left the house at West University.
Why?
Well, because he was scared of little Arnold and June was carrying on. And
when was this? Like what year?
1974.
So it was 74.
I guess it must have been around, because he was in the hospital. He first went to that Rosenberg hospital. They had him in there.
After the pig pen.
Yeah, but he wasn't getting no care.
So it was like the spring is when the pig thing happened.
Yeah, something around that.
So what happened though with the pigs?
I don't know what happened.
Well, no. I mean, what was the story about that?
Well, he got real drunk and he fell down in that pig pen.
But why was he? How did he get near the pig pen?
Well, I guess he was just drunk and just wandered in the pig pen, and it had rained real heavy, and it was muddy, and he was kind of heavy, big man. And Arnold, and Louie and Alvin were little old, like June used to say, little old. What did she call them? Little old midgets or whatever.
Strange.
Yeah, she'd call them names, but they weren't midgets. They just weren't very big.
Yeah. And
they tried to pull him out, but they couldn't do it, so they had to go get Ernie Swall. Ernie Swall had a son that was a big guy, and they put a rope around him and pulled him out with the tractor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they did it, and they had to clean him up, and everything. And then that's when they called 1L, and then he went to the hospital. They had him in the hospital in Rosenberg.
For what?
Well, to get therapy, because he got to where he couldn't walk and being treated for alcoholism. That old doctor he had yelled at him, and he wasn't worth a shit. And anyway, then they transferred him to Methodist, and they put a tube in his lungs, kind of drained it. But he died, He lived about a week or so, and he died.
Of pneumonia?
Yeah, he had pneumonia.
Is that when you saw him with his face swollen and...
No, this was before.
That was at his house.
Yeah, that was at his house.
Yeah. Yeah, and so then he died.
And then Robert told me that, who was that? One of the cousins? Was it Franklin Gajowski or James Shookman? One of them. It might have been Franklin Gajowski. He was telling Robert that Arnold Sr. was going around giving money to the relatives, giving money to them. and kind of acting real strange, and stuff. And when I'd go over there, he'd always give me a silver dollar.
So he was acting real strange right before he died?
Yeah.
Or before
he got sick,
Pigpen and all that?
Mm-hmm. I imagine if David he'd have been living when you and David were born, he'd have showered y'all with money and God knows what all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, why couldn't he have lived a few more years? Anyway, so he I guess, I don't know, I mean, that's just it makes you think about, if Arnold Sr. was like the big shot in the family.
Oh, yeah, everybody looked
and
at him.
What must have been, what must have people been thinking when all that happened?
I have no idea.
Like when he fell into the pig pen, I mean, that seems like that would be the most undignified thing you can imagine. And if you can, the family, how they must have thought, here's this man who everyone looked up to in New Gulf, and now...
And like Val told Robert, if your brother would have been a decent kid, your daddy would still be alive. Val told Robert that. She said, if Arnold Jr. would have been a decent kid, Arnold Sr. would still be alive.
Well, it seems that if Arnold Sr. hadn't spoiled him, they would both still be alive,
Oh, Arnold, he was spoiled, baby.
Yeah.
He was spoiled, baby. See, Robert was 18 years old when he was born.
And so...
He was a senior in high school when Arnold Jr. was born.
And Arnold Jr. was just kind of the baby.
He was the baby, and they spoiled him and let him do everything and let him have everything. And he'd go get in trouble, and Arnold Sr. would get him out right away.
But, and you wonder, was Arnold Sr. drinking before all that, before Arnold Jr. kind of...
I think he was drinking some at his job in New Gulf. He would drink, but not as much as he did
when he retired.
Because
Johnny says that, when Arnold Sr. retired, he still used to get dressed and drive out to New Gulf every morning because he had nothing to do.
He had plenty to do, but he just didn't want to stay around by June.
So what was the deal? They forced him to retire?
Well, see, another company bought the job, bought the place. And Arnold Sr. wanted to stay there at least, let's say he retired and he was 70. I think he was about 64 when he retired. He wanted to stay another year. Let's see, he died in 1974 when he was 66, and then in 71, that would have made him what? 71, he'd have been about 62.
How old was he when he died? 64? 66.
And that was
in 1974.
In 1974, and in 71 he retired.
He would have been 63.
Okay, he wanted to stay there for at least 2 more years.
Till he was 65.
Yeah, till he was 65. But this other company took over. They brought in their own crew like they did the light company with Malvern. And they told them all they had to retire. Either take their retirement or get fired. Well, Malvern said, well, he would take his retirement and stuff. And so the same thing, that's what Arnold Sr. did.
Yeah.
And Arnold Sr. was upset because he wanted to stay for 2 more years.
Yeah. Yeah. But they made him retire.
Yeah,
and
because when this company took over, they brought in their people.
Mm-hmm. And so, because then he was kind of stuck at home. When did they move out to West University? Before or after he retired?
Who?
The Arnold Sr. in June.
They didn't live out in West University.
Bel Air.
Oh, they moved there, I guess, when he retired in 71. They first had an apartment somewhere there in Southwest Houston. They had a nice apartment, and then while they were building that house, and then they built the house, and then they moved to that place.
And they only lived there a few years. They moved there
in 71, and
He died in 74,
yeah, they only
and then they sold it.
Yeah, they sold it like in 77.
Why didn't? Okay.
They didn't live in that house very long. They were so unhappy in that house, you know.
Why?
Oh God! Well, that house was so big. They didn't need that big old house. And Arnold Sr. had 2 lots in Rosenberg. He wanted to build just a regular little old house in Rosenberg, but no, Arnold Jr. didn't want that. He had Arnold Jr. liked John Daughtery told me. Arnold Jr. tried to act like a big shot all the time. And he told John Daughtery and a couple of their friends that his mother was a millionaire, and she was working, or she had servants waiting on her, and she lived in California somewhere. He made out like June was a big, like Queen Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm.
And John Daughtery said, I believed him at first. And he said, then I found out his mother was in a nursing home.
Yeah. Well, I guess she had servants, you know.
Yeah, well, he made out like she was a queen, you know, like Queen Elizabeth, and had people, you know, a butler and all that. You know, and he told me, he said, Arnold Jr. made out like his mother was really...
So Arnold Jr. wanted that nice house. Now, how old was he when they moved into that house?
Oh, they moved there in 71. He died in
he would have
77. He was about 19 or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
So he moved out there.
In 74.
Yeah.
54.
54. So he moved out there, and then they lived there. Arnold Sr. died. June didn't go to his funeral. She moved into the nursing home, and they sold the house. And then he bought the house on Judson in West University soon after that.
Yeah, after he got a settlement, whatever, Arnold Sr.
Did he get the majority of the estate?
No, June did.
Oh, well, June, but then Arnold Jr. got the second big.
Yeah, and then Robert got the tail end.
Yeah.
And Arnold and 1L didn't get nothing, and that's when she was belly aching. And
well, but now talk about millionaires. She was one.
Yeah, I mean, her in-laws were millionaires.
Now, did she always drink? What was her deal? Why did she drink? Like, what was her excuse?
Don't ask me. She just said it numbed her needs, but she was drinking.
Numbed her needs. Yeah, I remember. Remember at Granny June's funeral, and she had that bottle in that rental car and said, "Oh, I don't know how that got there."
She was drunk. Yeah, she was drunk. She was drunk when she was at her funeral.
She was always drunk. She said that was her pain medication.
Yeah, she said that's what kept her knees would hurt. She had knee replacements.
But was she drinking before then?
She had been drinking and smoking.
But I wonder why, with alcoholism,
she drank.
Who else in that family drank? Because I know that that the old man, John, didn't.
Bill was an alcoholic.
Yeah, Bill was an alcoholic. Arnold Sr.
And then the oldest brother, Eugene's demonic. Was it? Yeah, I think Eugene.
It was Eugene.
He used to rent a farm from Uncle Adolph and Aunt Ida. They had
on Popo and Granny's side.
Yeah, they had Aunt Ida had a place in Fort Bend County, and Uncle Adolph would say that this, I think it was Eugene or whatever his name was. He was trying to always gyp them out of money. And he never did like him,
Yeah.
And he would tell Daddy about it, and then Daddy didn't like him. And he said, damn, what kind of parent bastard would do that? But anyway, he died, and his son got killed before Robert and I got married. He got killed a year before. He was going to Louisiana. He was unloading a truck, and that somehow it shifted, and all the logs fell on him and killed him.
Really? Here it is. The family.
Yeah.
So there was, okay, so the old man, John, Jan, who had Annie Rose. Annie Rosie was the first child who died very young in 1916. Then there was Velasta Sophie Zamanek, who died in 2008. Who was that? That was Val.
Yeah.
Who married Frank Chernovsky. Okay, so then there was Ella, who married Shipman. Yeah. Oh, they misspelled his name. Alvina. Oh, her middle name is Victoria.
Yeah.
Then there was, then Edward John.
Yeah, that was his name. His son's name was Eugene.
Yeah, Eugene. Now, so he was an alcoholic, or he was just...
he was an alcoholic.
So Edward was. Arnold was.
That's what I was told. He was an alcoholic.
Yeah, so Edward, alcoholic. Arnold, senior alcoholic. So then there's Olga and Gustali. Who's that? Johanna?
Who? I don't know who that is.
Oh, wait, unless I'm looking at... no. Wrong thing. Oh, here we go. Okay. Then Bill. So, Bill, who was an alcoholic. Louis, what happened to Louis? Was he the one who got hit on the head?
No, that was Alvin. Louis died of Alzheimer's.
Yeah, in 1982. So as Alvin died, and then a few months later, Louis died.
Yeah. Alvin had a kidney disease.
Was he the one who got hit on the head?
Mm-hmm.
And then Uncle Johnny, who is pretty much seems like of the brothers, he seems like he was the only kind of normal one. You know.
Well, Arnold Jr. was okay.
Well, yeah, Arnold Sr. I mean, I hear he was fine until, you know.
She drive me crazy.
Yeah, that's what Johnny said, that he would have drunk, himself to death if he was married.
What's her name? June told Val told me one time, she said, my brother should have divorced that damn woman years ago.
Really?
She wasn't worth a damn.
Why didn't they like her?
Well, she kind of was. Well, actually,
June, I know she was kind of nuts.
The baby of the family. Even her sister said that. Annie and who was that other one? Clara. Clara was a school teacher. Robert didn't like her. He didn't like any of them. Because they would always get together. They talk about Arnold Sr. and all stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And Robert never did like. I think his name was C.B. Rader.
Yeah.
They were something to do with school. They were teachers. And that Clara, she was, I don't know, she was weird. And so was that Aunt Winnie. But anyway, Robert said one time the Kasparics were at a Thanksgiving dinner. Robert said, I was a little boy. And he said we were going to, that one of the Kasparics was a deacon in a church, and he was going to say the prayer before they ate. And that C.B. Rader and his son said, we ain't got no time for no damn prayer and all that shit. We're going to eat shit. That's the way they started talking. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And Robert said, I just stood there and looked at him. He was about 12 years old. He said, I remember that. That's the way they were talking. And one night, June was in the hospital there when she was at St. Anthony. She went to some mental hospital there. And I can't think of the name of it.
And St. Anthony, when she was at St. Anthony's?
Yeah, then they let her go to some...
Why'd she go to a mental hospital?
I don't know. They had kids there, that were on drugs and stuff like that. They were there too, and so...
Wait, so she went there because she had gone nuts?
Yeah, just to see what was wrong with her,
Oh, okay.
They wanted
Got
to
it.
remove a lobotomy, do a lobotomy
In
on her.
June?
Yeah, or something
What?
or like the part of her brain there or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
And she said, I'm not having that done. And Robert said, I'm not signing no papers. That old Dr. Sharma, he was goofy anyway. And anyway, Clara and that CB Raider came there that night too. And Robert looked and he saw them. He just got up and walked away. And he said, I ain't gonna be around them damn.
When was that?
That was she went about in 75.
So after Arnold Sr. died.
Yeah, Arnold Jr. was still living.
And they wanted her to have a lobotomy?
Yeah, that old Dr. Sharma. He was just a young, I guess, an Indian doctor.
Well, that was back when they all thought that was what you were supposed to do.
Yeah, this was in 75,
They didn't.
And
really
June
know.
said she wasn't having nothing like that.
Yeah, because she would have ended up all, brain damage.
And I told Robert, I said, she don't need that. He's crazy. She said, I told Robert, he's the one that needs a psychiatrist. He's crazy.
Oh, hey, that person named Cotton was Olga's daughter-in-law. Remember on the thing it said something in Cotton? We were looking at it on the video. Okay. Well, anyway, I guess that's it about, Arnold Jr. There's really nothing else to know. That's pretty much it.
No, ain't nothing else to know.
Right. Well, can I I'll just go ahead and type all this up then. So.
Yeah, I tell you that Arnold Sr. never really said a whole lot. You did. Arnold Sr., when every time we'd go over there and see him at Brazier, she'd start a yak, 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 yakking. He'd be wanting to watch TV and then he'd send it. He'd do that to her. Trying to get her to shut up so he could watch TV.
Nice.
And she'd be yakking and yakking and yakking. And she used to talk. She called the house here before Robert and I got married. She called over here and Mama said, she talked to me for about an hour and a half. Mama said, gosh, I heard the same thing over and over and over. Mama said, die hat me richtig nervous gemacht mit ihrer Schnapperei or something like that. Mama was talking in German. She said, with that talking, it made her nervous and over and over. And then the day of my shower, the same shit. Come up there talking about Arnold Jr. Oh, he was a change of life baby. And it's so hard taking care of a baby when you're middle-aged like that and you have a baby. And Mama told her, she said, well, I don't know. I had my baby when I was 42 and he was change of life, but I didn't have no trouble with him. She said, he was my baby, Lannis. Oh, but I bet he didn't have a daddy like Arnold Jr. Don't start that in my shower, please. I don't want to hear that. No. And then Robert didn't like it. And then Miss Bedingfield, the lady that used to do Mama's hair, she was real religious. She didn't like that. She just stared at her. She just looked at her. Then she told Mama afterwards, she said, well, why she talk about her son like that? She didn't like that. Right. I didn't either, but what could I do?
Right. Okay, well, I think that's it. Now, if I talked to, because I know that Kimberly and I talked kind of about that Arnold Jr. thing, can I let her hear this, the recording?
What?
That we just did, that I was recording.
Let me hear it.
Well, I can't, it's like an hour and a half long.
Well, just hear it.
Well, okay, I will. But anyway, what I'm saying is, if I want to let her hear it, is that okay?
Yeah, she can hear it.
Okay. All right, I just want to make sure it's okay. Okay, well, I'm gonna let you hear. I'm gonna stop now.